Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic.
Hello, good afternoon. You're welcome to TV3 and this is Agenda. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Today we are talking about land. We know land plays a very critical role in the socio-economic development of this country. The critical sectors including mining, housing, agriculture, they all revolves around land. How efficient is our land administration in this country? With me in the studio this afternoon to do the discussion, from far left, we have Dr. Ben Kwei. He's a project coordinator, Land Administration Projects. In the middle, we have Mr. Stephen Jagba. He's International Relations Officer, Licensed Surveyors Association of Ghana. And on my immediate left, we have Mr. Kwame Tinedu. He's Land Policy Analyst and Commissioner, International Federation of Surveyors. Welcome, gentlemen, to Agenda. We'll start with you, Mr. Jagba. How critical is land administration in Ghana?
Thank you. I think land administration, as it is, from 1990, when they had a land policy introduced in this country, became a very critical issue, which the ministry realized that there's a need for them to look at what exactly, we look at the problems we have in Ghana, we look at what kind of solution that it needs to provide. So they came out with a project, Land Administration Project 1, which we're looking at strengthening our policy and our legal issues and the framework of the regulations. And they were also looking at decentralization of the processes and the business services. And they were also looking at the improvement of maps, because if you want to do land administration, one of the basic tools you need is the maps that you need to be able to identify the parcels and other things. And they were also looking at human resource development. So with these components that were looked at in the Lab 1 and Lab 2, we say that yes, some aspect of work has been done on that. It's yet for us to see whether it has sunk deep into the ground for the people to see the benefit of that, which I know the public is...
We'll look at the project in detail, but we want to look at the need for land administration. Why would we have to administrate land properly in the country? Looking at the critical sectors that revolve around land.
Sure. The needs were, some of the needs where we look at, people are having double sales. The agencies were having duplication of work and other things, like looking at that. We have different form of our land tenure, which we cannot put them together. Our land title were only declared on few areas in the country, which we're looking at spreading across the country. So these were some of the challenges that we saw why the need of the land administration project that were introduced.
Mr. Tinedu, we have a commission that is mandated to take care of lands, registration and other things. What's your assessment of how the commission has fared?
You mean the assessment of the Lands Commission?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. They exist as a constitutional body. They're doing the best that they can under the circumstances. I am absolutely sure that they face quite a number of challenges. I am also absolutely sure that sometimes they are not given the opportunity to be the independent or the kind of independence that the Constitution really place them in.
If you say they are not given the flexibility that the Constitution mandates them, who are we referring to?
I am talking about a structure of a constitutional creation which is supposed to be independent but has challenges. Their challenges are quite enormous, and when I talk about the independence that they should have to operate, and I want to talk about some of the times the kind of challenges that you would, politics behind making things work. When you have a commission which is always afraid of sometimes taking certain decisions because somebody else will want them to look the other way or do it in another way, then they have challenges. These are all human. People expect so much of them, and yet we all know that they have serious challenges in terms of funding, in terms of staffing, in terms of access to the public, so many. And my view is that if we all know that we have these limitations and we create that structural limitations, do we then expect them to, perform magic? That has been my case. I'm not here to sort of defend them, but then what I'm trying to say is that if we expect much of them, then we must give them room to perform to their optimum. And in that regard, I would always want to hold them very, very well accountable if they are supported, to deliver their mandate. For instance, I have always said that looking at the constitutional directive or the state directive principles of state policy, access to service is a constitutional right which every Ghanaian must enjoy. And
definitely the commission.
And if you have a commission that is capital centered.
Let's go to Mr. Ben Quay. He was with the commission and currently with the project. Mr. Quay, what do you think the commission has done their work satisfactorily, looking at all the challenges that Mr. Tenedo is?
Definitely, there are a lot of challenges in the land administration system, and the commission is placed in a very important role because they are mandated to manage all state or public lands on behalf of the president, and they are also to facilitate land registration and guaranteeing security of tenure. And I believe to do that, they need to have first the legal and policy framework within which they operate has to be well laid out for them to work. They need the tools, logistics, human resource to be able to undertake these things. And that is where maybe the project comes in. The project was formulated to support.
But before the project was the commission?
Yes.
And this project started in 2000. And the commission has been in existence for many years. So before the projects end now, you think they're doing their work? We should be.
I think they are doing their best, but there are a lot of challenges confronting them. There are some of them. There are political challenges, there are technical challenges, and also legal
What are some of the political challenges?
I believe I may not be in the best position to say it, but then as is, in terms of what the Tenedo was saying, in terms of political influences, taking decisions which may be influenced by outside forces. There's that point, but it's a human institution, and those things can come up and affect their professional work. But then, to a large extent, they are doing their best with the given resources to make sure to handle the.
We have a new land policy that was formulated in 1999. How are we implementing that policy?
Yeah. basically, the national land policy provides the framework for land administration in the country, and it identified a number of weaknesses in the land administration system. One was that there were fragmented institutional arrangements for land administration, both at the formal level and the customary level. At the formal level, we then had various institutions: Land Valuation Board, the then Lands Commission, Land Title Registry. At the customary level, we have the various chiefs, customary authorities, families dealing with land, and it had a lot of problems in making sure there's effective land administration. As a result, there is also what we call general indiscipline in the land market. We have families selling land, chiefs selling land, individuals selling land, creating a whole lot of problems and multiple sales of land, as Mr. Jabba mentioned. And one of the key issues was also that was identified by the national policy was that there was indeterminate boundaries. 80% of the land in the country is supposed to be owned by the customary authorities, chiefs, families, but then it's not possible to differentiate between stool A and stool B, and that creates a lot of problems and litigation. And there's a lack of transparency and accountability, both at the formal and the customary level. You go and buy a land at a chief's place or a family place, you give him some money, no receipt is given to you, you submit your documents to maybe a Lands Commission for registration. At times, there are some people who can be charge you more than the official receipt that you receive. So there is this level of accountability and transparency issue. And also, we also realized there was lack of consultation and collaboration between the traditional authorities and the formal sector in the day-to-day dealing in the land. So as a result of these weaknesses that were identified, the result was that there is insecurity in land tenure. You buy a piece of land, you are dead, another person will come there, have bought the same piece of land. There was litigation in the land tenure. Getting access to land for development policies becomes very difficult. It was as a result of these problems identified by the national land policy that the land administration program was formulated. And this is a 15 to 25-year program to try and gradually resolve some of these issues. And the first phase of the project was launched in 2003 with the objective to lay the foundation for a sustainable land administration system. There were a number of activities that were done were initiated under Lab 1.
We will come to the lab. We want to look at the policy itself, the newly formulated policy that was 1999 policy, and look at whether it has resolved some of the challenges that existed. Mr. Jabba, we know the fragmented agencies from the other side, from the public side. We still see those fragmented sectors. We know valuation is there. We know commission is there, registry. We see the fragmentation. Have we tried to bring all the agencies together to make things easy, owning land easy in Ghana?
Yes, the system have tried. One of the things that they did was in the lab, they decided to bring land commission, the then land commission, and then land title, the valuation and survey department together. When the law has passed, it's left with other things to be done, because you cannot pass the law without regulations and the LI, which still the project was trying to get it done. And like some of what we said from the beginning, if the professionals were given their role to play without any hinges from sometimes the political side and other things, we believe that they could be able to have done it. Currently, for the past 5-6 years that they have brought them together, still the structures has not been put in place. So it's still existing. People still see valuation, people still see land title. Physically, it's still there. It has not been able to resolve the problem of what we are all expecting. So the public is still crying. They still have delays. People still have waited for years. They've still not been able to register their land. And this, we are talking about decentralization. How do we have land commission operating in Greater Accra or Accra, head office, Kumasi, Takoradi? How somebody from Odan, how will the person be able to register the land? He had to move from Odan to Koforidua. So if I'm registering land from Odan to Koforidua and I don't have the right documentation, how will the people know that the document I'm registering is true? So yes, we have talked about it. The framework has been created, but now implementation has become a challenge. And as we are talking about finances, the human resource, the structure, we've not been able to put infrastructure in place for us to be able to put the people together. So when this is happening, it wastes resources. the money that have been used from 2203 to now, if it has to be quantified, is huge money. But has we got a resource as to what we are expecting? That's the question everybody will ask. You and I will ask, and we ask everybody, the public. They are expecting to see a resource. That they just walk into Land Commission, drop their document at one office, they'll pick it the next desk, and it's ready, registered. But that is still not what is happening. So the challenge is still there. And we are looking forward, how do we clear this challenge out of the system and become a human factor? We human beings try to create a situation so that people get advantage when the problem is not going well. Then the few will benefit, and the larger people rather suffer.
Is this intentional, or you think this is a typical case of a system failure?
Yeah.
Because if we have formulated a policy and the direction of the policy is to bring the institutions, the various segments together so that we have a unified land administration system and things becomes easy for everyone, and we are not implementing, is it that we failed as a system, or we intentionally failing so that we can benefit from the system?
Thank you very much. My view, personally, is that we work in reverse and expect that our motion will be forward going. Why I'm saying so is that before the merger of all of these institutions, we ought to have asked ourselves what was the real, problems that we wanted to solve. I doubt very much if there was a baseline study conducted. And I think many of the problems were imagined. When I say were imagined, people felt that there were problems and therefore, made them to look like there were problems. Lack of coordination among public servants. Government is paying all of them. If they are not coordinating, what do you have to do? You have employed. These things won't happen in the private sector. I have engaged all of you. You have to coordinate to give me results. If you don't coordinate to give me results, what do? I don't keep you.
Isn't that the main reason why the formulators of the policy try to put the institutions together so that there will be better collaboration?
Sometimes there's law avoidance. I mean, you want to put people to work together by force of the law. When they were in their separate silos, they were also implementing or working with the law that created them. Now, let us not forget that we're dealing with human beings. If I were sitting somewhere acting as a general manager of an institution and you want us to work together, and I don't understand, I don't know what my future is going to be, and you lump us together, I mean, there will be that kind of apathy. I am just trying to, not to be scientific, but just to look at the general behavior of people who are employed, knowing that they will be in an office, retire, and then move away without accounting to anybody. These are some of the challenges that we face. In fact, some of us really from the beginning felt that this was going to be a big, big problem because, look, all over the spaces, you would hear the kind of corruption that was, happening in the land sector, particularly the Lands Commission. Everybody was singing that song. Gradually, we started hearing about survey and mapping, then survey department. People started singing that song. So if we want to address the issue of transparency, corruption, and stuff like that, we don't lump all of them together thinking that they'll wash away. We are in a technological era. We can do things by technology. I mean, if I want an information, I don't necessarily have to be present. There are ways that I can communicate with you and have all the information that I want to have. Now, that brings me back to what I meant by, the self-inflicted problems that we have. Now, we have all the institutions that are supposed to give us, one, value to our land by going to inspect and then give us, do the stamping for us. We have an institution that will demarcate and survey the land for us. We have an institution that is supposed to record the transaction between the private persons. Now, take Greater Accra, for instance. There's just one receptive office, which is the Lands Commission at the cantonments. Now, on the average, let us say the population of Greater Accra is about 3 million, and 1 million of them wake up every morning thinking that they want to buy land or they want to sell their land. If only 10% of that, which is 300 of them, decide that they want to go and drop or transact business at that point, and they are all driving to the point, can you imagine the chaos that will happen there?
That's
These are all realistic.
lot of traffic.
Apart from the lot of traffic.
No, I mean lot of traffic within the commission.
Within the commission, and then the ability to cope with the volume of work that is coming up there. I drove through...
if you could hold that for me, let's go to Mr. Kwe. Mr. Kwe, you were in the commission. At the time of the formulation, trying to bring the institutions together, I'm sure there were good intent. But physically, and even in practice, you don't see the coordination within the institution. You still see the individual structures, because we know where survey is, they still work, it seems that they still work very independent, even though that's not the intention.
We need to clarify something. We need to know where we are coming from and where we are, and then we see the future. Before 2003, when the lab project was commenced, for registration, for example, we had only 2 registries in the country, Greater Accra and Ashanti region, Kumasi and Accra. So if you register, you have your land in Wa, you have to come to either Kumasi or Accra to have it registered. After lap 1, based on project intervention, we were able to establish land registries in each of the 10 regions. So at least there's a form of decentralization at that level. Apart from that, under lap 2 now, we are now going further into further decentralization, in the sense that we have established what we call the Client Service Access Unit, which Mr. Tenedo mentioned. And the idea of the CSAU is to bringing together the 4 agencies that were brought together. Before the CSAU was established, we tried to integrate the business processes of surveying, of valuation, of land registration, of state land management together to ensure that we have one seamless process. And currently, as I speak today, at the CSAU, when you submit your document there, you are supposed to submit it there. It will be processed at the back office.
No, that's it's on paper. In practice, people are not feeling this, because people still are having a difficulty in registering land.
No, I want you to understand the context. So, for example, before the CSU was established, for example, if you want to register your land, you have to go physically to land valuation, have it stamped. You move from there.
They still do that.
No, there's a change. Now you submit it at the CSAU office, and it will be registered at the back. Even though there are challenges at the back office, I agree perfectly. But we are identifying those challenges and trying to resolve them. So you see, I'm looking at the optimistic point of view, in the sense that we identify the challenges. We are seeing how to resolve them. If we continue hammering
we still have the challenges, because land is dear to the hearts of many people. And so when you buy land and you try to register it and the documents do not move, or you go week after week after week and the document is not moving, that is the reality. And that's what a lot of Ghanaians are facing today.
Yes, I appreciate it.
So the problems have not been solved.
Yes, but I'm trying to tell you what we are doing, where we have come from, where we are now, and where we are going. So I will understand.
It looks like we are crawling. Mr. Jabba,
No.
What's your assessment of how we are moving? Because the challenges that Ghanaians face in registering land, in securing their land, the encroachment still is happening, multiple sales is happening, land guards are still active. These are things that people do to secure their lands. If the system was working and they could register and they could own title, there won't be a need to guard your land.
Sure. Like we are saying, I cannot understand. Ghana started the land administration project way before Uganda, way before Luanda. I can bet you, visit Luanda today, visit Uganda today. They are 40% ahead of Ghana. They have solved most of their problems, as we are still crawling. So that's where we are trying to, what exactly in Ghana that it's keeping us not to move forward. Then Rwanda just came out of war. Today, get there, you see the change. So we believe in human capacity system that we have in Ghana. Something has to be done with our human development system. because we are the same. And surprised to note, it is a Ghanaian that became a project manager for Uganda. And today they are enjoying. That same Ghanaian, maybe when you bring him to Ghana to come and do it, we don't know what will really happen. And he's still seeing the World Bank. So we believe that. What
is the problem?
The problem we are looking at is
because if a Ghanaian can do it in Uganda, then we have a lot of bright Ghanaians who are doing very good work in Ghana. So why are we not getting it?
Let me try and then put it from this perspective, looking at it broadly. You see that how does a land transaction begin? It begins by a person wanting to buy land and a person offering to sell land. Fine. Those are, outside of the public domain. So that transaction must happen in accordance with laid down rules and regulations. We've passed laws from the colonial times, revised them up until today. You just don't sell land because you want to sell land. You sell land because certain things have to be done in order to be able to offer them for sale. Now, why I have always talked about the indiscipline. The indiscipline is not only with the chiefs, with the families, and it is also with state actors. It is also with state actors, and I sometimes think that the state actors must even get it right for those in the private sector to emulate them. In the state, you can get multiple sales. It happens.
We have individuals encroaching on government land. We know about the Pantine Hospital.
Yes.
That is.
Yes, but you see, managing land on behalf of the state is the responsibility of the Lands Commission. I have always said that, look, people's eyes do not have telescopes in order to know boundaries. I'm just bringing us down so that we're not looking at issues as if something is, on a kind of a rocket science or something like that. In most of the civilized societies, when they say this is a public space, like for a hospital, like for a park, like anything, they are marked out. That is why there exists a survey and mapping division of the state.
Irrespective of that, why would you pick land that is not yours?
But how would you know it's not yours, sister? Let me give you an example. It is sometimes if somebody encroaches on a public land, the person might have a motive of doing so. The state may have acquired it. The state may not even have the records of the acquisition. The state may not have even surveyed it. The state may have surveyed it and revised it many times. The state may even collude with the landowners and decide that, look, encroach it, will not come to court to defend it, and a whole lot of stories that are alleged to be happening. These are allegations, we hear them. But, for areas where we know that these are real facilities, look, I cannot imagine for a second walking in some of these developed nations where they say this is a park, this is a hospital, that you don't find even a chain link fence. You see, people are developing, they won't go for a permit. The permit regime insists that you must have title to land before you can have a permit.
Exactly, and you must submit drawings. Yes. Signed by a certified architect.
Yes.
4 drawings, yes, including electricals, plumbing, and these are expensive ventures.
You see, we believe in very nice way of looking at things. That is why every time we have a problem, what we do is to create more laws. And these laws, let me tell you one thing. One of the objectives of the Land Administration Project was that there were so many laws, plenty of them overlapping. The first thing they did was to add another one as part of the solution. So in addition to what was existing, now we have one.
Which one?
The Land Commission Act 737 that added, put all 767 that put all of the land sector together. That was an addition to the law.
Isn't that with a good intent?
It is. Nobody thinks that policy makers have bad intentions for doing certain things. However, my views are that when you, for instance, you spoke about the land policy document. The land policy document is clear about the policy actions that we must embark upon. Now, if we take the policy actions and we are going to embark upon, and we know that these are our challenges, do we create more of the challenges when we have created the law that is supposed to operate, and we, up until now,
let's go to Dr.
10 years on, we haven't created the legislative instrument to support them.
Let's go to Dr. Quay. Dr. Quay, you are with the lab.
Yeah.
And so this is squarely within your domain. Have you created more problems, or you are seeking to resolve the problems?
I think the objective of the project is clear, to strengthen the land administration system in the country. It's very clear, and it has set itself certain activities and goals that it seeks to achieve. I mean, I think the Tenure has raised some issues, for example, that there's no LI for the Lands Commission Act, or the Lands Commission Act was an addition. I will not say it's an addition. It was trying to consolidate and integrate the process to make land registration or land administration simple. And that's one of the objectives of the project. And it is true that since it was done in 2008, there is no LI. But as I speak today, by the end of this month, the LI for the Lands Commission Act will be ready to be placed before Parliament. So there is an LI which is going to operationalize the act. And as I'm saying, see, a number of activities are being done. I agree with you that the ordinary, let me say, ordinary person may not, is not feeling it now, but there are a lot of underground work which is being done, which will come up. For example, the CSAU that I mentioned has done a lot to make sure to reduce the frustration of clients in land registration. We agree that now the documents you receive at the front office and it goes to the back office, that the various divisions of the Commission for Processing, there are challenges. Why? It's because of the platform to make sure the various agencies work appropriately. So we are also developing what we call the Ghana Enterprise.
So you mean the platform is not working optimally?
Yes, it's manual at the back. So when you manual, it has to move physically from Survey and Mapping Division, then physically to...
Mr. Quay, sorry, Dr. Quay, I get you, and I can feel the passion with which you are talking coming from the project side. But on a daily basis, people are getting frustrated. Yesterday, I spoke to someone who bought 20 plots of land from 3 different people. 1 stool, 1 family, 1 individual, and then finally he ended up with 12. And even the 12, he had to go beyond reasonable doubt to secure the 12 when he bought 20, 3 times. These are the daily things that people are going through. And so we don't have, people are running out of patience. We want to see the system work. And that's why there's a push. How can we push and facilitate so that these things happen?
Yes, I mean, that is what I've been trying to say about what the project is trying to do. But it's also, we also need to agree to the fact that our land tenure arrangement is quite complex. We have a customary thing where 80% of the land is owned by the customary authorities. We have to, Accra, for example, we can have a piece of land, St. Pete stool may be contesting for it, a family within that stool may also be contesting for it, individual will be contesting, they're all selling the land. That becomes, it becomes a very difficult issue to handle. But then the project is also trying to resolve some of these issues, for example, at the customary level, to establish what you call the customary land secretariats. This is an institution or establishment to ensure that the customary authorities are able to manage.
Don't we already have a stool lands division within the
division? Yes, so the project is assisting that office to establish and ensure that the customary authorities have offices to ensure that when they grant lands, for example, they are able to record it, so there will be reduction the multiple sales of land, for example, to be able to demarcate their lands, to know their boundaries, to reduce the issues of our indeterminate boundaries. I mean, these are things which are happening. But I want to agree with you that to some extent, these are not being felt by the ordinary people. But then these are things which are happening in the background, which will eventually come up to resolve these issues.
Well, on this note, we'll go for a break. I'm sure you can identify with a lot of the issues we are discussing here. When it comes to land, it's a very passionate discussion. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion.
The action never ends on Star Times.
And hard hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the...
Before we went on break, we were looking at stool lands and family lands, and this document we call the indenture. It's supposed to be a very strong document, legal document. You have a licensed surveyor's stamp and signature, you have a lawyer's stamp and signature. But these days, when you hold an indenture in your hand, it doesn't mean anything. You can have an indenture, another person will have an indenture. Three of you holding the same indenture.
Yes. No, ownership to land start with a small paper you always see with the grid lines on it, which we call the side plan. That's where your ownership starts from. So if you are going to buy land, and that side plan, you see, one thing we are making mistake as Ghanaians, you cannot go to court and go and pick anybody on the street to lead you to the court as a lawyer. You definitely look for a lawyer to go to the court. When people want to buy land, they just pick anybody and follow them and go and buy land. It is wrong. When you want to buy land, the first person to inquire from is the licensed surveyor, not any ordinary surveyor, because he has been mandated by the state to be able to determine boundaries among people. So when you ask him, he will make sure investigate whether the land you are going to buy from the land commission, whether the records there is belonging to somebody. If you just go and follow and go and buy the land, definitely somebody else will sell to you. But the document you are holding might not mean the land you are going to buy. So the indenture you are seeing is supposed to be a description of the site plan on that paper document. So when you have a paper document, a site plan, which says your land is 1 acre, but the indenture is giving you 100 acres, there's nobody that will accept the document of the 100 acre. Will only accept
the site plan.
The site plan. So when you're going to buy land, when that is the basis of your ownership, you have to be sure that you have got a qualified licensed surveyor to do it for you. You have to do a search to be sure that the land you are buying does not belong to anybody. And also the person selling to you, he owns the land. So when you don't do this and you buy the land, it means that you are creating the problem for yourself on the initial stage. You may complain that it's expensive. Site plan will never cost you more than the value of the land you are going to pay. People pay millions of cedis for land, but when they are paying just about thousands for the paper, that will give you the right of ownership. They complain about that. So they just want somebody on the streets to prepare a site plan for them, and they use that one to buy. Definitely, you will have this kind of problem coming. So if we follow the rules of the game, which shows that every stool lands, every family lands are to be demarcated and registered and keep the records with land commission. Today, the problem we also have is the security of the data. We have to ask of land commission.
How about that licensed surveyor who is signing the indenture? How about that lawyer who is signing the indenture? These are people who are supposed to know what they are signing. Otherwise, that signature can actually, you can be liable for forging a document.
I have seen the Licensed Surveyors Association. Today I'm speaking as a commissioner, so I've seen the Licensed Surveyors Association draw the public's attention through a press release about the steps to follow, and insisting that you must, first of all, if you want to pay for the services of a licensed surveyor, look for one. Insist that he is one. Take a receipt.
How do you find a licensed surveyor?
The licensed surveyors are like every other professional. Somebody must introduce you to them, or where in doubt, go to the director of survey and map and say, look, I live here. I want you to nominate one of your employees for him to do a kind of job for me. That is the first thing to go if you are in doubt, if you don't trust the reference from the public. Now, when you get the services of the licensed surveyor, insist that he offers you a receipt, acknowledge receipt from him, and then insist also that he is doing the right things from you. If he doesn't, report him. We belong to the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. We belong to the Licensed Surveyors Association. All of these two institutions have ethics and disciplinary committees that deal with them. Indeed, you can even go to jail and lose your license for doing the wrong things. You have to ensure that when you're engaging the person, he is the right person you're engaging. But you see, people somehow, strangely, have grown so used to, getting the unauthorized persons to work for them in the land center. It is strange. It is absolutely strange.
Isn't it because the system has positioned itself in a very bureaucratic, difficult way? It's so difficult to walk to any office and say you want to register land. And what Dr. Quay explained, drop your documents and then pick it in a month's time. It doesn't exist. And so when someone approaches you and says, I will help you, I will facilitate.
Yes, that is
the
more reason why. You see, in Ghana, when we say there's no problem, when we're talking to somebody, oh, no problem. That is where I will look deep. That is where the problem starts. You see, the issue about land is a very unique business that we ought not to toy with. First of all, I am talking about who has the power to grant. The state, through certain laws, is also empowered to ensure that certain things happen. For instance, I can cite Section 23, I'm not too sure, but I think Section 23 of the Land Registry Act, where the registrar of land may, if in doubt, request the one giving a sub-grant to show proof that indeed he is the real owner. If that element in that law, may, is changed to shall, then it becomes mandatory.
Banding.
Then it means that we can always hold the registrar of land if grants emanating from that channel fall through without insisting that the head grantor has the right to give. Now, every family in this country, whether patrilineal or matrilineal, has a head of family. The heads of family are to manage for and on our behalf properties that the bigger families hold. When somebody dies, we don't have problems about who the busuapenye is. We can make a notice and we can put the busuapenye's name. How come that when we have to allocate land, then the busuapenyes become several and many?
They become so several.
So I say these are challenges that are self-inflicted. If somebody is dying, which is an easy thing to do, and we can, document it that easily and put the notices. How can't we do the same when we want to sell property belong to a particular family or a particular stool? And the next serious matter is the law avoidance. A lot of people want to avoid very simple steps that inure to their benefit and protects them. And Ghanaians have that challenge. He gets there, looks for his classmate or senior, and they still
and then hands over.
And then hands over, and then the story starts.
It looks like the whom you know thing is becoming, so we know the challenges, including self-inflated, as Mr. Asiedu has coined it, self-inflated. But then we also know that you are helping to get the chiefs and the stools to demarcate and to make sure that they know their boundaries. How well are we doing on that front? And what are some of the pushbacks that you are getting?
Yes, I think under the project, at the lap one, we demarcated the Ejisu traditional area boundary. We attempted the Bawi in Accra, but there were some challenges with their neighbors, so we could not go through. And lap two, we've completed the
challenges with their neighbors.
Yeah, with their neighbors, yes. They had their judgments covering their land, but then there were conflicting judgments in some areas, and some stools were also laying claim to parts of their land, so they couldn't get agreement with the boundaries.
When you encounter such a challenge, what do you do? Because this is a big challenge.
From lessons learned from that one, in the lab two, in the Bongo tradition area, we engaged an ADR consultant, alternative dispute resolution consultant, who went with the surveyors, and as the issues come up, they sit down and agree with the neighbors, and then with that we were able to complete the Bongo traditional area. And in addition to the CBD, as I said, we are introducing what we call the customary land secretariat.
So Bawe is aborted?
Yes, was aborted. Yes, was aborted. So with the CLS, we're trying to establish some norms, formal norms, in the traditional settings to make sure they keep records of transactions. They want to keep records of transactions to reduce multiple sales of land.
What facilitates success? And what we know, the litigation is one, that's a key barrier. But then the JUSU was successful. So what was the facilitation? What made it easy for
with
you
the
to do
JUSU, as I said, the tenure system is a little bit complex. In the Ashanti region, it is more centralized. Their land is centralized, and most lands are vested in the stools. So you deal with, if they just used to, with the Ashanti as the overlord, and it becomes easier to deal with that.
So there were no challenges there.
Yeah.
So what it means is that if you go to an area and the area, they are well structured in the way they do things, then it's easier.
It's easier.
And when things are complicated and it's not,
it becomes easier.
How then are you positioned to make sure that this project succeeds, Lab 2 succeeds, when these practical challenges are
yes, you see, the project, as I said, is also what we're learning by doing approach to, in the sense that as we implement some interventions and there are challenges, we document those challenges, so lessons learned to help develop further interventions. For example, the Bawe one showed us that we need to have a mechanism in place to try and resolve the issues as they come by, and that was implemented in the Bongo and it succeeded. So with the lessons that we are learning, we are trying to document them to ensure that we are able to achieve the success of the project. But let me say that one thing I don't know whether we will have opportunity to do that. The Ghana Enterprise Land Information System is a platform which is going to...
We'll come there. Okay. We'll talk about that platform. Let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the platform. We'll look at some of the things that we can do as a country, recommendations from our guests, so that we can fix this enormous challenge that we have in that administration in Ghana. We'll be back shortly.
The action
for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks, reporters and anchors broadcast it. Analysts will talk about the impact of this on society. But current affairs will set the agenda for policymakers to implement it. This is what we do on Agenda. It's sharp, authentic, and hard-hitting. My name is Deborah Kwabla. Join us as we set the agenda.
Agenda now shows on Sundays at 3 p.m. only on TV3 and is supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
When the news breaks,
Sunday 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. only on TV3.
Brought to you by Mixi Choco, Channel Hot,
Holy Trinity Spa and Health Farm,
Tabia Herbal Mixture and Capsules, Day by Day Men's Sport, and supported by Unia 95.1 FM
and 3news.com.
There are lots of amazing stories out there. What we do on News 360 is to bring to you the most compelling news by teasing out the right pieces that bring the stories to life. My job is to present to you the news in the most gripping manner and asking the critical questions that bring out the needed detail out of the stories. My name is Alfredo Kanse. Join me on News 360 Monday through to Friday, 7 p.m. on air and online only on TV3.
Come back. This is still Agenda on TV3. We are looking at land administration in Ghana. Mr. Jagwa, these are difficult issues. We know the project is doing well, but the challenges persist. How should we position ourselves as a country to make sure that we can deal with the issues?
One thing that I can remember, when the white came to Ghana, they realized that the chiefs own land, but they were able to collaborate with the chiefs and they helped them to begin to demarcate their boundaries. That stopped that problems that they were having in dealing with land. I will be sure if Ghana and Land Commission, the LAB project, can go from the grassroots. The Constitution says we should map the whole country, which we have failed to do that since 1992. If the Constitution says so, we can abide by that, we can solve the problem from there. When we do that, then every parcel, every stool land, every family land are well demarcated and having records at the Land Commission. Then that will be the basis of our solution to land problem. Until this is done, it will be like you want to give birth and you have not been pregnant and you can have a baby. We've not seen anybody having a baby without pregnancy. So the basis of land solution in this country is to be sure that our base fundamental, which is the boundaries, are well demarcated. Then we also have to decentralize. You don't need to walk so many miles to look for a place, to look for a surveyor or lodge your document to be processed. So every district must have a land office and must have a licensed surveyor and must have the town planners working together. Then this problem of multiple sales, because Cheese thinks that he have land, he just look for a planner, do a layout for him, he starts selling. There's no surveyor, there's no land administrator, and that brings the problem. So the basis solution, I believe, is to have our land well demarcated with the chiefs. We believe we can start from there, and that can lead us somewhere.
People are getting away with wrongdoing. How should we position punitive measures for people who have done wrong to serve as a deterrent? Because otherwise, multiple sales will continue. It's lucrative. If you can sell 10,000 twice, that's 20,000. But nobody is punished.
Yes. Whipping or punishing when it is due is one of the challenges we face. Why? I don't understand. I don't know. Somebody knocks down a pedestrian on the road. Oh, you see, I believe that we have to move away from that and make the land sector more transparent from the public side and further more transparent from the private side. Now, I also believe that, look, some of the landholding families and stools are not doing that bad. We need to look for them and encourage them. We need to really try and then assist them to do the right things. I also believe that because we don't punish, if we don't punish, everybody is going to get away from it. If a licensed surveyor offends the laws of the land, what stops us from punishing him when the punishment is even written in the law?
So if I have an indenture...
If somebody makes a multiple grant, what is the reason why we should not do that when that offense is even in the act itself? When, you know, people sit and it is something that made us publish, they made this public press notice months ago, only very few months ago. You see, people have found a gaping loophole in, you know, making money. They have accomplices. You go to somebody, he has all the stamps of the lands commissioner, the licensed surveyor, the lawyer involved, and all of that. I have had cause to arrest several of them. I have handed them over to the police.
And then how did the cases go?
Well, because I'm not a prosecutor, I wouldn't follow up. But then, over and over, nothing happens. But what I want for us to understand is that the more we continue to tolerate these things,
the more
we're going to run.
The more we are going to get them.
I mean, if you look at the amount of money, and maybe Dr. Kwe will tell us, we're running over $100 million in trying to address the land system.
Doug, talk about the platform briefly, and then moving forward, what should we be expecting from the project? Because you are sitting within the ministry, trying to help.
Basically, land administration is defined as the process of capturing and disseminating information about the tenure, how lands are owned, the use and the value of land. Basically, it's about managing information. So you need a platform to be able to manage the information that you are able to capture so you can disseminate it effectively.
Are we getting a platform?
Yes, that's the Ghana Enterprise Land Information System. It's an electronic platform which could be the basis to capture all spatial and attribute data. From what Mr. Jabba said concerning mapping the country, perfect. But when you map, on which platform are you putting it? The GLS is providing that platform so that data can be used by multiple users, and that will enhance or improve the land administration system. We agree there's a myriad of problems in the land administration system, but it is a gradual step by step, we will achieve our aim of having an efficient and effective land administration system in the country.
Lab 2 is ending?
Yeah, in February 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
What are we expecting?
Yes,
We are aborting some projects already, so what are we expecting by 2018?
By 2018, as I said, by December, we will have the Ghana Enterprise Land Information System in place. We are doing a new land bill which addresses some of the concerns that Mr. Tinedu mentioned in terms of what do you call it, punishing people for, it is providing offences for public as well as what do you call it, customer authorities. If you flout the law, you'll be punished. So there are measures being put in place to that effect. So the land use planning bill will, the land bill will be placed before Parliament. We hope that it will be passed before the project ends. The legislative instruments that will operationalize the Lands Commission Act will also be placed before Parliament and be passed. The GELIS will be in place, and we're hoping that with all this and building upon that foundation, we will be able to achieve something positive.
Mr. John, we have a number of interventions as a country. The street naming, the housing, house naming, property rate, all these things are linked to having a proper register of where we are and where things are. And as a country, we have all these projects, putting resources. How should we position all this so that we can succeed as a country in a few minutes?
Thank you.
Just in a few words, we have to round up.
In a few words, the basis, if it is done, it will be able to help us to generate our own resources. But to